First things first is we've got a sitting to standing desk. So that sitting to standing desk, you can sit and you can stand. For every time you sit and you stand up, that's one squat. So there is a little bit of exercise.
Is it's not best to exercise on a really incredibly full stomach. And the reason's simple behind that because the blood, when you have a full stomach, is being pushed to the stomach.
Good points. So signs of happiness, they may vary from person to person, and there are a lot of different keys that might emulate someone is actually happy, like feeling like you're living the life that you always wanted.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I was doing a broadcast the other night live. It's like, what makes you happy? And I think probably
I'm going to paint you a visual picture here. Does this pose mean anything to you? Slumped over, typing on a keyboard, and then you try to stand up after doing that for 8 hours. Your back is sore. You don't have any strength in your legs, and your wrist gets sore, and you get the carpal tunnel from the repeated movement syndromes. All of those things can happen in a normal course of a work environment. But did you know that you can transform your work environment into an exercise environment and in turn transform your life? How about that?
Well, we have successfully done that in our practice because after a 10-hour day, if you're sitting and charting for a long period of time, you go home stiff and you need to go out and walk or move. So what we have done is, of course, first things first is we've got a sitting to standing desk. So that sitting to standing desk, you can sit and you can stand. For every time you sit and you stand up, that's one squat. So there is a little bit of exercise. Also, you want to have the right kind of chair. You want to have a chair that gives you some lumbar support. It needs to be about 100 to 110 degree angle so that you're sitting upright and sitting on your sits bones and not slouching in your chair, creating more neck problems and more back problems and stiffness. Also, another thing that's really important is to make sure that when your hands are on the desk, to make sure that they are level with your shoulders at a 90-degree angle. If you put too much stress on that ulnar nerve, eventually you're going to have nerve pain and you're going to end up having to see an orthopedic because you've got numbness in your hands. A couple other things that are really important is the screen. You want to be able to look straight at the screen to where your eyes are really looking at the top of the screen instead of down, taking your neck forward, and your head is pretty heavy. So if your head is leaning forward all day, that could potentially create some neck pain. And then last but not least, we've turned our workstations into exercise stations. You can put a treadmill under your desk. You can put what's called a cubie under your desk. So you can move your legs and get blood, oxygen, and nutrients to your tissues throughout the day.
Yeah, just a couple things that I do too during the day is when I'm standing there, I will sit and try to suck in my gut, pull it back.
Do you have a gut?
Well, I hope not. I don't want to have one because you might look at me weird at that point. You probably would too at that matter, but I want to pull it back as far as I can towards my spine, right? And then at the same time, we really equipped our computer systems with artificial intelligence so we can push a button, and when we're having a consult with somebody, instead of having to type that repeatedly like that, and put ourselves in that repetitive motion position, it actually records it, transcribes it, and then makes it into a transformed note that we can copy. We have to check it, but we can copy and paste it into the chart. It works really well. And then I'll actually sit there and just, while I'm talking to someone, move my feet up and down, like maybe stretch my knees, high, bend them 90 degrees and go down. And you can actually increase your steps quite a bit. And I've been tracking this for a while. I don't told you this, but typically I could pretty get another 1,000 to 2,000 steps a day just by doing that in my workstation. And if everybody did that, it can really help a lot, right?
Well, yes. Anytime you get a little bit of extra blood, oxygen, and nutrients to the tissues, you're going to feel a little bit better. Not just blood, oxygen, and nutrients, but water. Having water at your right side or your left side, whichever side it is. Talk just a little bit about maybe the benefits of hydrogen water or having that on your desktop.
On my desk, I have 2 bottles. I have my FMI, silver metal cup that I fill up with our distilled water back there, right?
And that's about how many ounces?
It is about 26 ounces, I think, right? And I think it measures it on there. And then I also have my hydrogen infusion machine bottle. And so I take the water and I put it in there, right, into my hydrogen bottle and push the button, and the hydrogen bottle creates hydrogenated water. In other words, at the bottom cylinders, there's a electrolysis machine back there that creates hydrogen that goes up into the water. And then I drink out of that thing, and I can get myself 4 to 5 glasses or 4 to 5 bottles of that a day. And those are about 8 ounces, right? So that big glass gives me about 3. But if I can get 4 to 5 a day, hydrogen comes into my body, into my cells, right? All of them. It's so small, and even in my mitochondria, and it can reduce the antioxidant. It becomes an antioxidant for us, and also reduce inflammation. So it really is sort of this way to, hack our system to get younger or live younger, older.
It does take inflammation down and can even improve recovery from exercise.
Yeah, I've done a lot of that too, and I got a rhythm going on. I'll do that water, before and after work. One more thing for our office, I've got these little, blue blocker glasses
those
that I
are
sometimes
yes,
put on. Look
because
like
the
Bono
EMFs
maybe, but they're there.
can be very exhausting by the end of the day.
Oh my gosh, I think we've all had that.
EMF headache.
Totally, man. Your eyes hurt and all this mess, and we don't need to have that strain headache. And so I can put those things on. I don't wear them all the time. Probably should wear them more, but I probably wear them half an hour each day as an average. And it does help me because I've had eye strain before where things get kind of blurry.
Yeah. So if you spend a lot of time at work, it's very important to have ergonomic setup that works the best for you so that you don't have neck aches, back aches, and your energy is optimal by the end of the day.
So we're not talking about not exercising and just doing this at work and nothing else. Do your exercises well, and then turn your work environment into a place of movement as opposed to just laborious, repetitive motions. And I think you'll be better off in the long term. This is giving you a few tips. This is one. There's probably more out there, but we've just given you some of the ones that we use every single day. So hopefully that helps you a little bit. For more questions, comments, and even ideas you want to share with us, you can reach out to us at sherwood.tv.
How to optimize eating around exercise.
We're going to give you some great tips on when to eat, what to eat, how to eat around exercise. Coming up next.
Our flagship product is called Kingdom Fuel. Tell us a little bit about Kingdom Fuel and why it's so good.
We saw people struggling with the idea and concept of it's too expensive to eat healthy. So we thought, okay, that's the problem. Let's find a solution. So we found a solution for $5 or under per meal, and that represented the birth of the idea of Kingdom Fuel. So Kingdom Fuel is organic pea protein. It's got greens and reds in it, so this is the phytonutrients from green plants and red plants that we all talk about. Eat your vegetables, right? It's also got vitamins and minerals in it, so it's got a complete complex of that. And it's got also soluble and insoluble fiber, which the difference between the two is profound. Soluble actually gathers moisture and makes you full, and the insoluble goes through the system and grabs things like damaged particles.
The body runs on nutrients. It doesn't run on medication. And Kingdom Fuel is a complete multivitamin and mineral.
Introducing OK Movie Stream, your ticket to a world of cinematic classics and wonders, right from the heart of Oklahoma and the surrounding areas.
Baby, take a walk under the moonbeams.
Dive into a world of captivating stories and extraordinary talent, all on OK Movie Stream.
You got to believe, y'all.
Choose the option that suits you best. Watch for free with commercials, binge watch your favorites for 3 days, or unlock ad-free streaming for just $10 a year. Join the OK Movie Stream community today and embark on a cinematic journey like never before.
I don't know about you, but I have to have that cup of coffee in the morning. And Kingdom Cup is mold-free, it is pesticide-free, and it is organic. It's got this flavor that is delicious. You don't even have to put cream or sweetener in it.
And it's Kingdom Cup with a K,
K.
right? So this is important. 50% of all coffee at least contains mold. And this is a key thing. That's in bean form, right? So you're going to be a little grinder. They're just a few bucks. Grind it up, put it in your maker, and make it. Why did we go with the bean form, the whole bean? Because ultimately the powder form is the one that gathers the most moisture. And that means the more potential mold development. So this is actually organic, mold-free, certified. It's got a little certificate with it. That's important because ultimately people drink coffee. It's cultural. And so we tried to meet the culture where it is and create a healthy alternative.
There's a lot of information out there about when to eat and when to exercise. Let's talk about some of these timings that are appropriate for individuals.
Well, we need to begin with this idea. There's no definitive right for everyone all the time. There's no special timing for everyone. We're all different. Age matters, sex matters, activity level matters. It all matters. State of health matters. And so there are some general principles that are really important. I think one that I think people would really understand was this when you talk about eating as it relates to exercise, is it's not best to exercise on a really incredibly full stomach. And the reason's simple behind that, because the blood, when you have a full stomach, is being pushed to the stomach to help digest the food instead of being pushed out to wherever you're trying to work to get a pump of that muscle. So you lose that circulatory sort of direction. I call it like a misdirection of your blood flow at that point.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
Don't exercise on a full stomach. I think that's number one universal principle.
Now, there are theories about fasting and exercise, and oftentimes those things turn out to be true. Now, if you are a person that is not like a marathon runner, you can fast and exercise without decreasing your muscular power or your aerobic endurance. When you exercise in a fasted state and your body's actually fat adapted, your body's going to burn extra fat as fuel, meaning turning those triglycerides into energy as fuel. Now, a person who is a marathon runner and they're going for to exercise for a long period of time is oftentimes somebody who needs to have something in their stomach to provide blood sugar to the system while they're going a long distance, especially if they don't have extra fat on their frame to shift into a fat burning metabolism while they're on a long run.
Yeah, if you're not doing an elongated cardiovascular oriented workout, I'm talking an hour and a half, and or you're not doing a 30-minute like ultra high heart rate, high intensity exercise, fasting would be okay. If you get up there to more than that on both of those sort of types of exercise or a combination, you probably need to consider some sort of little snack before and perhaps even during. Now, I didn't say a heavy meal, so we're talking snacks, something more maybe in the area of a couple hundred calories or something
Like a protein shake
like
that
a
might
protein-
have some, added carbohydrate to it.
Yeah.
Like even like a Kingdom Fuel would be great.
Maybe like a couple scoops of Kingdom Fuel. Maybe during the exercise, you could have a Kingdom candy bar. That would be excellent for people out there that have these long, drawn-out things. But very important, if you're not doing those extreme sports like that, you probably don't need to be eating like that, and therefore a fasted, hydrated state would probably be best because, as we talked about, you get that benefit of having that correctly directed blood flow.
Now, we know that it takes about 8 hours for food to fully be digested. It goes through the system, goes through the liver, put in the muscles as glycogen, and restored in the liver as glycogen. So eating just right before you exercise is not actually going to improve the glycogen that's in your muscle to improve power or aerobic endurance. It's not going to give you that energy. So what's really important is the 90 minutes post exercise to get your protein on board very quickly. Post exercise, that's when your body's really ready to take up that carbohydrate load, is in that 90 minutes right after you've done your training.
Yeah, a lot of folks get really confused in that too. They'll take in a whole bunch of glucose or a whole bunch of carbohydrates post-workout because they've been told that's what you're supposed to do. Well, there's a big old dependent factor right there. If you're already really, really overweight and your exercise was not intense, you didn't burn out those glycogen stores, leave it alone. You don't need to replace that. Protein is another story. Depending on the type of exercise you did, if you went and did some heavy weight training, it would be important to bring in some protein because it has amino acids that can be used to sort of repair the muscles you sort of just tore down. Taking it in through a protein shake or something like that, or Kingdom Fuel post-workout, I feel is like awesome because it does both worlds sufficiently in all aspects. So if you want to have something, you can. Experts kind of say about 90 minutes. Probably that varies between intra-individuals somewhat, but yet that principle is probably true.
How does that affect somebody who exercises at 6 o'clock at night and they need to refuel their system?
Very important on those. If you exercise late at night, some people are, genetically preferential, bent that direction. You can take something in, but you don't need to be taking high carbohydrates in because that will disturb your sleep pattern, which when it disturbs your sleep pattern, you'll disturb your recovery pattern, so you won't hold your muscle tissue as well.
So it's not that you shouldn't eat, you just need to fuel yourself with the right stuff before you go down to bed at night.
Yeah, I think when you're like that, late night workouts, fat, good quality fats, and protein would be wisdom. Don't do a high carbohydrate meal. Look at Kingdom Fuel or some protein shakes like that. Some people prefer small meals a day. Some people can really get away with one or two. Really all depends on you. But take these principles we talked about here today and make it, part of your mantra.
And of course, that's going to vary for the elite athlete.
Yeah, no question. If you're one of those elite athletes like my wife, you probably need to have more food. Right? So take all these tips and it'll help you out with your exercise improvement.
Kingdom Candy with a K again. Two flavors. We got salted
Delicious.
caramel and peanut butter. These are great. I mean, they're
kind of like a complete meal.
yeah, they're 200 calories. People want to know that all the time, and not that we're worried about calories, but these things have great ingredients. They're not sweetened with sugars. They don't have those false sugars or fake sugars, artificial
They've got
sugars.
fiber in them.
They do. It's interesting. Salted caramel crunch is our newest flavor. We'll come up with some other stuff at some point, but those can bridge the gap of that sweet tooth craving. They're sweetened with monk fruit, and that's really, if you know what that is, it's not going to raise blood sugar.
It's really only 2 grams of sugar. I refer to it as the sweet without the cheat.
Any of these things out here are designed to be money-saving, nutrition-giving, and life-enhancing, and this is a big deal. So you'll find out, like thousands of other people did, that these things will help you live healthy longer. The body's amazing at recovery, so you want to give it every chance, no matter what time it is. So in that context, no, it's certainly never too late. You're never too old to start trying to be healthy.
No matter where you are in terms of your health, that you can turn this around.
It's never too late to start a wellness program, and it's never too late to reach your healthcare goals. There's an old adage, and I'm not sure where it came from, but I really do like it. And they say the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
We just want people to hang on to hope.
We are hope dealers. And if you are not paying attention to the 4 foundational pillars of health, physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual, eventually it is going to catch up.
If we get all those 4 areas right, and we do it right, we see a dynamic occur in the middle called wellness, and that's where people get better. Their health is really going to return as a side effect of wellness.
Let's get real. Most emergency food is just as bad for you as any other choice in the standard American diet. And that's just sad.
We don't just need food, we need highly nutritional food.
We don't just want to survive food shortages, we are meant to thrive in adversity.
Complete your daily nutrition and have shelf-stable Kingdom Fuel as a cornerstone of your food supply.
Don't sacrifice your health or your taste buds.
Stock up on Kingdom Fuel now.
What is happiness? Well, happiness varies from person to person, and that's something that oftentimes people seek to discover or find. So let's talk just a little bit about what is happiness and what defines it,
Well, happiness for me is being married to her.
and vice
How
versa,
about
being
that one,
married
man?
to him.
That was a good one to start with. Now, happiness is really, it's more than just a state of mind. It's a state of self, right? It's emotional, it's physical, it's spiritual, it could be even financial. It's
Mhm.
all those things wrapped up. We've got to remember that happiness is more than just an emotion. It's sort of a place of peace as opposed to a place of upset or a place of chaos.
Yeah, so there's a balance of emotions, the feeling of feeling joyful, elated, thrilled, excited, and then there's also this feeling of satisfaction
Yeah.
that may be bring happiness. And that satisfaction may be with family, it may be with life endeavors, it might be with sports or athletic
Mhm.
achievements.
Yeah, so think achievement, think conquest, think victory, think something you have, like a possession, can make you happy or produce the emotion of happiness. Well, I remember in time, though, that if the happiness is not sort of driven intrinsically, the extrinsic or the outside in sort of motivation of happiness is sort of temporary. Like we talk about this with employees all the time,
Mhm.
right? So employees can be motivated in both ways. You can be motivated by money, which would be extrinsic, or you can be motivated by the achievement you have inside, which is intrinsic. Like you achieve something within that makes you do really well at your job. And but happiness as a whole is something we all need to sort of have a sort of an intrinsic look at. Are we happy? If not, why not? Are we in a state of peace? If not, why not?
Yeah, so good points. So signs of happiness, they may vary from person to person, and there are a lot of different keys that might emulate someone is actually happy, like feeling like you're living the life that you always wanted.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I was doing a broadcast the other night live. It's like, what makes you happy? And I think probably some of the things that make me happy is being able to see other people achieve something that they couldn't or thought they couldn't
Mhm.
do. And we had a hand in seeing them do that. And to see that their deemed impossibility is now actually a reality, that's kind of makes me happy. And then obviously, when you tell me I'm a good husband, that makes me happy. When God affirms how much He loves me, that makes me happy, right?
Yeah, so other things like some people like to just go with the flow and they have this willingness to take life as it comes. So different than the person that is highly motivated
Yeah.
to an achievement to bring happiness.
Well, some people are risk takers, some people are risk averse, and so everybody's different. And I think a neurotransmitter that probably would be related to this is the neurotransmitter called dopamine. Now, dopamine is this thing that's produced and it's excitability. It's like everybody would understand, like the dopamine rush or the runner's high or the workout high or the achievement high. Sometimes that neurotransmitter is congruent with the emotion of happiness. And so I think that, when we look at that, we've got to think about activities that also promote the generation of dopamine, which would generate achievement, which would generate at least internal happiness.
So that would be like living a life that is giving you meaning or purpose.
Right. I mean, purpose, if you're not living your purpose, you probably know it. And if you're not living your purpose, you're not on purpose. But everybody's life has a purpose. And so are we fulfilling our purpose? And if we're not, and we know it, there's going to be a feeling of uncertainty or a feeling of of loss or lack in your body. So this whole idea of purpose needs to be pushed all the time. So we need to be checking ourselves in the sense that, am I doing what brings me fulfillment? And if I'm not, how can I change it to where it will? And if that doesn't work, maybe I need to consider doing something else.
Yeah, well, and if that internal happiness is there, there should be a sense of wanting to share that happiness with everybody else.
Well, there should be. I mean, I think of a simple, again, back to a biblical concept, the good news of the gospel. If that's good news and that makes us happy that we've got good news to share, we ought to share it. And so when we have something to share that makes us happy, we typically share it with other people. So we got to think about, even in our interactions with people, what kind of information, what kind of conversations are we sharing with them? Does our information that we share produce happiness? Does it show happiness? Does it generate happiness? Or is it the opposite? Because, I think they're both addictive. You can get addicted to one side, you can addicted to the other. You could be addicted to happiness, which I think is a good addiction. Or you can be addicted to chaos,
I'd
which
rather
is
be
probably not
addicted
good.
to happiness and sadness
Oh, no doubt, man.
or grief.
Oh, but people are like that, and so, but I'm not saying be overly, false happy. I'm saying that, to be honest about it, but we need to look at our own lives. Are we fulfilling our purpose, and are we truly living a life that produces the happiness within inside of us?
Well, and then once we reach that point, living a life with true happiness, wouldn't that bring a sense of gratitude?
I think so. I think gratitude is one of the things that we should be living with, every day. Thankfulness, gratitude, satisfaction, contentment. We really need to think about how we are living those things. It's okay to want more, but it's not okay to want more and not be content with what you have.
That's a good point.
Because you can always be driving for
That's a really
something
good
else,
point.
but not be happy with what you have. And so you then take it for granted. And that's not okay. That's like the idea the grass is always green on the other side. Not necessarily. Sometimes it's artificial turf.
Yeah. So, last question is, how is happiness then different from gratitude?
Happiness, again, is a state of mind, and a state of heart, and a state of being. Gratitude is really a recognition of the good things that have been in your life, are in your life, or will be in your life. A little bit different, but I think that they go together hand in hand. I think to exhibit happiness, you probably have to understand some gratitude. And to have some happiness and gratitude together, and they go together, I think they almost fuel the fires of each other.
Well, and happiness seems to me to be the opposite of anger. Happiness would have great effects on physical health, physically, emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually.
So to steal a line from the Jamaican friends, don't worry, be happy, man.